I've never been so proud of the city of Tukwila in my life, and reflecting back over this last week and especially on Tuesday, August the 27th, I was able to witness firsthand an operation that included approximately 400 officers from multiple agencies, and from everything I saw and heard from the professionals in attendance, it went like clockwork, and I was just so proud that I had tears in my eyes as I watched that develop. Hello, I'm Jim Haggerton, the mayor of Tukwila. I've been in elected office for 19 years, 13 as a council member, and this is my 6th year in the mayor's office. And we had a major event last Tuesday, August the 27th, that we wanted to get the word out to all the residents in the city, and we felt the best way to do that was by media. And we're going to have the key participants in that from the city speak to you about their area of participation, and then I'll have some remarks at the end.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Mike Villa, the Chief of Police of the Tukwila Police Department, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation with the citizens of Tukwila to talk about what happened on the morning of Tuesday the 26th. Tuesday's operation was a culmination of a year-long ATF-sponsored Tukwila Police Department joint investigation. We could not have been successful without the help of our federal partners in this investigation. The response was also dependent on a regional effort. 400 law enforcement officers, both federal, state, and local, that responded to the event. Despite our crime reduction efforts or crime prevention efforts with these various hotels that were part of this effort, there was somewhat of a rejection of our efforts to help them reduce that crime. So as we look further into the investigation, it showed that the Boulevard Motel, the Great Bear Motor Inn, and the Traveler's Choice Motel had a common ownership group, and they were all working together in this criminal enterprise. So what we did is we utilized undercover sources, confidential informants, and we were able to uncover enough evidence to take this effort to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the U.S. Attorney's Office adopted the case for federal prosecution. Again, without the ATF's help and their leadership, we would not have been successful. So they played a vital role in assisting us through this investigation.
The cops are here to remove the cancer that was in Tukwila.
A massive police presence, from local officers to federal agents, brought an end to one of the most crime-ridden street corners in Tukwila. Investigators say the owners of 3 motels in a 2-block stretch of International Boulevard made themselves rich by allowing prostitution and drug dealing on the properties.
You can see the prostitutes come and go.
Just over the years, it's always been bad things that have happened.
Hundreds of officers rushed the motels this morning in a pre-dawn raid, pulling tenants out of the units as they searched for evidence of criminal activity. Officers arrested the 3 motel owners and a 4th suspect. Investigators say the Boulevard Motel, the Great Bear Inn, and Traveler's Choice were essentially crime dens, and the owners earned hundreds of thousands of dollars charging entrance fees.
It was basically, in the vernacular, a cover charge. If you wanted a certain kind of drug, you could go to room X. If you wanted a certain sexual activity, go to a different room, and they would just take a cut.
Crimes included rape, robbery, and stolen property. Police say today's raids mark a new day for the neighborhood.
It took a lot of people working together and dedicating a lot of resources to make this happen.
I'm Commander Drever of the Tukwila Police Department, and I'm going to walk you through the operational aspect of the event that took place here. The actual operation itself began around 4 o'clock in the morning on August 27th, where we gathered our staff at a staging area. While they were setting up and preparing for the actual execution of the warrants, we had street personnel from Tukwila come and block off 14400 block down to 14600 block of the northbound lanes of Tukwila International Boulevard. This was done under the ruse of actual maintenance on the streets, and it paid off for us because at 6 o'clock in the morning we had our entire contingency move out in a caravan that approached from the south heading northbound into that the barricaded area where the teams then peeled off as they approached each of the motels themselves. And what would happen is we'd have a stick of SWAT officers combined with our civil disturbance unit head down into the location and target immediately those rooms that were specifically involved with our investigation. Once those rooms were contained, we then went systematically to every room, and there were officers assigned to every room in each of the hotels, which is why it took so many officers to carry off an event like this, because the amount of planning and coordination that had to go into effect in order to account for everybody and every contingency that we could possibly find in each of those rooms required that many personnel. As a result of the number of personnel and the efficiency of the planning, I'm happy to report we didn't have one injury. And for a plan and operation of this size, it's unheard of. That includes both officers, any personnel involved, as well as any person we came into contact. So a lot of commendation goes to the officers in the professionalism and the way that they carried out their activities that day. Once each room was secured, we would begin an investigation process where we would actually interview individuals in the rooms and go through a vetting of those individuals to determine whether or not they were involved in any of the crimes, whether they were conducting crimes outside of our investigation, as well as vetting people that weren't involved with any of the crimes and making sure that we got them some of the human services assistance that they needed. Those that had excess of property on site, we had teams that then came in, itemized, inventoried, and boxed and put the individuals' names and protected it for safekeeping so that we can make sure we get property back to the individuals or use as evidence later on, be able to assure our chain of custody. Including 400 plus staff members and officers involved in this operation was a necessity just because of the sheer numbers needed to assign officers to each and every room of each motel, which almost counted 100 different rooms. Not counting the off-site personnel needed to execute the search warrants at the other three locations, and our operations center, also our human services relief, and also our unified command. The operation as a whole took a vast number of people throughout the entire city and in areas of our region in order to execute this operation as it was on this day alone. We made over 19 arrests, 4 federal, 2 state, and 13 local or warrant charges. We seized 10 firearms, 3 from the motels and 7 from the residences. And to date, we've managed to seize $100,000 plus in cash, most likely number growing. I've never been involved in an event of this magnitude in my 20-year career, nor do I think I'll see it again, but I'm proud to have been a part of it.
My name is Marty Grisham. I'm the emergency manager for the city of Tukwila. When you have a large operation such as this, the incident command system is what we use to break it down into manageable pieces. So what we did with this is we created an organizational chart. And with that, you always have some person or persons who are in charge, overall in charge. In this case, we set up a unified command. And they were in a command post off property and away from the scene. And they are there mainly if something goes in a direction that we were not expecting, then they are there to make those decisions of correcting that action or whatever. So they're really a decision-making body, but they are the unified command. Underneath them, keeping in mind what we call a span of control, we can all control or manage 3 to 7 different things at one time with some good accuracy and good efficiency. And so what we did with this is we created that chart to where Unified Command only oversaw operations and our planning and logistics and our housing group. And so it was very manageable for them. But under operations was this whole big structure, and that was the main component of this was under operations. We had a fire branch, and they controlled our medical group and our fire suppression group in case we had a fire. They also controlled the law enforcement. We had a law enforcement branch, and under there was SWAT and the civil disturbance unit, We had the federal agencies that had their own group. So we broke it down into those components. Underneath planning, we had several different teams underneath planning that did different parts, documentation and so forth. And so that organization, that structure is what has been around for years. That started out back in the 70s with the big wildland fires down in California, and based on the complexity and the large nature, geographical piece to this, they had to find a way to organize it. And so that's when the incident command system was actually where it came from. And since then, we have found that it works in all different situations, and it worked beautifully for this operation. We have never, in King County, and to our knowledge, we haven't found anything yet outside of wildland fires, so some of the big forest fires we've had over in eastern Washington. We have never built a structure as big and as complex as this one was. We filled every box in the incident command system. And so what we did for this operation is unprecedented. In fact, we had comments from ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Group, from the U.S. Marshals. They have never had an operation go this smooth and this organized as they did right here in Tukwila.
I'm Evie Boykin, and I'm the Human Services Manager for the City of Tukwila, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what unfolded for Human Services on Tuesday, August 27th, after the motel raid. And we had an opportunity to pull together a team, a multi-departmental team, who are going to help us with the victims that weren't involved in any of the criminal activities that had been taking place at the motels. So what we assembled, with the graciousness of Pastor Jan Bolajak from Riverton United Methodist Church, was a supportive processing place for people to come to and collect themselves, to be fed, to be nurtured a little. We took basic information from them and filled out an intake sheet to find out what their needs were, gave them some emergency information, and arranged for them to have a short stay in a motel to meet their particular housing needs immediately. During that day, we saw 31 adults and 11 children who had been displaced, who through no fault of their own were really victims of the situation. So we were glad that we had the support of the city behind us. We had transportation assistance, we had assistance from the police department in terms of security and in other ways, and we were very grateful that we could have the support of so many folks coming together to assist our residents in need.
So there's been a lot of inquiry on what do we do next? Where do we go from here? Where we go from here, the way ahead for the Tukwila Police Department is to continue to focus on our crime reduction initiative. And as we explained over a year ago, that initiative was continue to target hotspots and key offenders, increase the accessibility, visibility, and responsiveness of our agency and our officers, and strengthen our investigations. We're going to continue to focus our resources along the Tukwila International Boulevard corridor and continue to fight crime aggressively as we have been doing in the past year.
You might ask where we got to this point. In 2012, the city developed a strategic plan. We worked all year on that, and we had it in front of the council for approval December of 2012. Primary objective going forward in that strategic plan, which were developed by members of the city council, city staff, school district, students, business people, everybody in the city was involved in the different groups in that. And the primary objective that came out of that for the year 2013 was to address crime in the city and make every neighborhood in the city improve the image and make it safe so we could have walkable communities. I think the event on August the 27th, this past Tuesday, goes a long ways towards starting that process, and it's just the beginning. We're going to continue that process. I'd like to thank, first of all, our Tukwila Police Department and all the employees that have been involved in the project, because it was more than just the events on that Tuesday. We had follow-up people from the fire department, emergency services department, from our human services department. They all had specific responsibilities. Everyone lived up to those. And now we're concentrating on the efforts of the after the fact. One message I would like to leave everyone, this is a message from my mayor's office as long as I'm the mayor of Tukwila, is there's 3 things I want to get across. Prostitution is not welcome in the city of Tukwila. Drug dealing is not welcome in the city of Tukwila. Gun violence is not welcome in the city of Tukwila. We are taking back our boulevard, and remember that Tukwila is the city of opportunity, the community of choice.